are vocabulary questions. And these questions ask you to identify the meanings of individual words or phrases as they are presented in the passage. So for example, you might see questions like this. The word X in the passage is closest in meaning to. The phrase X in the passage is closest in meaning to. In stating X, the author means that. So here are some tips for tackling the vocabulary questions. Remember that some words have multiple definitions, or they look the same, but they don't mean the same thing, depending on the context. So make sure you choose the one that relates to the word in the passage. So for example, think about these words, wound and wound. They look the same, but actually they mean completely different. They wound up the toy as soon as she got it, and she received a wound from the punch. So these are completely different. You have to rely on the context to understand what is going on. And make sure that you try replacing the word or phrase that you have chosen inside this text to see if it still makes sense. So here's an example. I want you to read and answer the question, of course, in 40 seconds. Try to stick to this time. I want you to practice your pacing for the real test. Ready? Go. D is the correct answer in this case, because the correct answer is hastily. In the context of the sentence, promptly means something to do without delay, and a definition for hastily is to do something fast. Only hastily has a similar meaning to promptly that can be used properly in this sentence. Purportedly means that something apparent has happened. Secretly means to do something without other people knowing it, and forcefully means to do something against the will of another. Type 6 are reference questions. So in a reference question, you will need to identify relationships between words in the text. Many times this is a relationship between a pronoun and its antecedent, or another grammatical reference like which or this. So for example, it could be a question like this. The word X in the passage refers to. So tips for these types of questions. First, you need to know what an antecedent is. An antecedent is a word or a phrase or a clause that a pronoun can replace. So if the question is about a pronoun, make sure that your answer agrees in number and in case. So check for singular, plural, first person, and second person. And always make sure that you resubstitute your choice to see if it makes sense and is not violating any grammatical rules. So here's your example, and notice that you have places that are highlighted to help you know what to do. So take your 40 seconds, 30 to read and 10 to answer. Go. So I hope you chose B because that's the correct answer. This sentence is describing the path taken by the sun. The other answer choices, though they all are words that appear in the paragraph, do not refer to things that are traveling. So type 7 are sentence simplification sentences. So you might not receive one of these on your TOEFL iBT exam, but if you do, you will need to choose a statement that has the same meaning as the one presented in the passage. So for example, which of the following best expresses the essential information in the highlighted sentence? So tips for this type of question. You need to know what is incorrect, contradictory, or missing important information. Now, contradictory means that one says two things that cannot both be true at the same time. So an example of a contradiction includes a phrase like the gentle torturer, the towering midget, or a snowy summer day. So these cannot be at the same time. A person can also express a contradiction like the person who professes atheism yet goes to church every Sunday. So these are two things that cannot be at the same time. So as always, check to make sure that these do not change the main idea of the whole passage. Here's an example. So notice that you have highlighted text. So please read the instructions and then take 30 seconds to read the passage and 10 seconds to answer the question. Ready, go. So how did you do? The correct answer is D. Now let's look at why. All of the correct information is included in this sentence. Men will likely have more recessive traits than women because the male genome has an X and a Y chromosome. The two X chromosomes in the female genome make women less susceptible. Choice A is incorrect because it mixes up the genders by saying women will have more recessive traits when it is men. And choice B is incorrect because it says that men will have more dominant traits when it should be recessive traits. And choice C does not have enough details, and it isn't the differences between men and women's genes, but their genomes. That makes recessive traits more common in men.